where you have business continuity plans. And one of the tabs always was a pandemic. And it's like, yeah, like that's really going to happen.
My son got it very badly at the beginning in June when he was in Nashville. So that was difficult. How do you take care of your little boy when he's that many miles away?
I joined Premier Community Bank June 1st of 2020, of course, right in the middle smack dab of the pandemic, having to deal with a lot of those outside things that were happening, having to change the way we do business. Of course, lobbies are closed.
So the stress that everybody was under this past year was very real to everybody.
We have to have confidence that these foundations that we're building things on will guide us into making the next decision we need to make, even if we have to change it the next day, and then change it again the next week, and then change it again 3 months later.
I can't think of any one specific positive thing to share, but
as I look back on 2020, I see friends.
I saw many people ordering takeout from these businesses. We got together as a community. And
I joined Premier Community Bank in June of 2020. It was
at the top of my positive list is employment. Premier Community Bank kept us all working.
My daughter had a leave of absence from her job due to the pandemic. She came back home from out of state for a few weeks.
I think one of the things that came out of 2020 from the quarantine situation is that families spent
2020 brought the pandemic and a new grandbaby who I was able to spend lots of time with because of the pandemic.
And the fall colors this year, too. This year they just seem more vibrant, and it was kind of like a way to show you that in the mix, all the muck and yuck, there's a lot of beauty to be seen.
The way I look at values in your culture is when you're struggling, what are you leaning on? What's going to guide what you're going to do next? And if you're uncertain, look to our values.
The bank was right there. And I think Tom talked about that a little bit on our emails, is that we were ready. That is an advantage that we have over all the big banks, is to be able to turn on a dime.
We served our customers the same way. Even though the lobbies weren't open, they could come through and make an appointment to come in and see a loan officer or use their safety deposit box if they needed to. So nothing really changed, and we had to kind of calm the customers down that, everything, you can get whatever you need. You just give us a call and we'll, set up that appointment for you.
We had so many other things in place. Mobile banking, internet banking, customer care team, the thousands and thousands of calls they got, and just to have the patience to handle that. The commercial lending group, loan support, everything that they did with the payment protection plan program.
It was great to see the team adapt to all of those changes. We talk about 2020 as a whole, and all you can think of is change, right? We were constantly changing our practices. We were constantly changing the way that we do business. We were adapting to all that. But the team just did a fabulous job.
Just recently we had a customer have some fraud on their account, and it's like, oh, okay, well, we need to deal with this via technology, because I'm not familiar with accounts. Someone was able to help me in a different office, and she didn't have to worry about her account anymore, and everything was taken care of.
You need to sit down and figure out what you're doing for that day. And so I was trying to work with the other coworkers, our teams, and customers. Just let's take this one day at a time, or 1 hour at a time.
I know our bank supported a lot of the local restaurants in our communities by buying lunch for the entire branch from different restaurants throughout the weeks and months as the pandemic kept going. And I certainly know that was appreciated, both by the business owner, and it was appreciated by us. It might seem like a little thing, but it wasn't a little thing. It had a nice ripple impact.
The community through this COVID time has just exploded with donations. And the same thing with the bank. It was great to be able to give everybody that $100 grant or donation to each cause, and to be able to, each employee got to pick where that went.
The 300 program, I chose to donate to have a close family friend that was killed. They could do a scholarship for him. And so I gave to that scholarship.
We had recently adopted a dog from Heck Liver After Sanctuary in Marion. And when the opportunity came to give back to someone, I had chosen that institution as well as another person in the bank. And together we went together and presented our checks, and they were so thrilled. And we've got a spoiled dog in the meantime.
You know, $100 sounds like a small amount, but to an organization, a nonprofit, a local community, organization, it can be impactful. So it was really fun to see everyone get out, take pictures with the organization that they were giving to, hold that check in their hand and see smiles on the faces when you could behind a mask, right? But it was really, really cool to see that.
Volunteering is so much a part of our makeup and so much a part of our value system here that it was difficult not to do some of those things as well. And we're looking forward to those days when we can rub elbows and get back to work with some of those items. But there were still other ways we could contribute.
FHLB was putting out some grants to smaller, local, more of a nonprofit type area business that may have been struggling through this pandemic. And so we were able to get in on handing out some of that money, being able to present local organizations with some of those grants. And we actually presented a $5,000 check, and it says Pulaski Senior Center is the one in our area that received it. Now there are multiple other organizations throughout our footprint that had received grants as well.
When you think about it, it really gives the premier values of how we work together. The trust and the diversity and the loyalty.
Some of the positives I think that came out of this were, number one, we got to keep our jobs. They laid nobody off, watching everybody, or a lot of people, millions of people losing their jobs, and we still got to come to work every day.
You just need to look at what surrounded you during COVID and make the best of everything. The families were great. The coworkers were great.
I'm sort of a simple man. I like to go for walks out in the woods. I got to visit a lot of state parks. I took a day and my daughter and I, we went up to actually 3 state parks up in Door County and did a lot of hiking. So Peninsula State Park would rank up there as a favorite one.
I'm kind of a homebody anyway. So things didn't change a whole lot for me. The biggest change for me was not being able to see my kids.
Every day there's always something to be thankful for. This last year, the sunrises and sunsets were awesome, and I don't know if it's because we were outside more that we appreciated them more, but the beauty, the colors. I learned how to use Zoom, apparently, because I never would have known how to do that before. My husband and I started every Sunday a Scrabble game. And we also became very good at jigsaw puzzles.
You look back and you think, gosh, we spent a lot of time together, close quarters, right? Because the lobby's closed. We're not going a lot of places. But we learned so much about each other. And I think we grew as a team. And it was maybe even one of the best times for someone like myself to come on board as a new team member.
We are a family here. The values and, we were trusting that everybody was doing everything that needed to be done. And going forward, that has helped me lead a team through this pandemic.
You look at our name, Premier Community Bank, and if you can capsulize the things that people have done throughout our organization, throughout the bank, the insurance division, the investment division, if you can, summarize all that, we took care of things. We took care of the community. Our managers took care of us. They let us take care of our families. I'm very, very full of gratitude for that.
We're not just their banks, we're their friends. The tellers, especially the customer service representatives, really make a bond with customers.
One of the biggest things that impressed me was the time that we just took with our customers, whether it's a phone call to reach out and say, how are things going? Are you doing okay? What can we help with? We're here to help.
After a storm goes through, you got to go out and pick up the branches and, maybe tap down some things, shingles that got a little loose. But this is a time that I know we'll look back on, and I think will make us better at what we do.